baby food manufacturers have been told to cut the salt and sugar by the government in new efforts to tackle the UK's high childhood obesity rates.
More than two-thirds of children aged 18 months to 3 years are eating too much sugar, according to nutritionists. And companies have been given 18 months to make the changes and make labels much clearer for parents. Well, joining us now to discuss is consultant paediatrician Dr Ronny Cheung and award-winning nutritionist Charlotte Stirling-Reid. Good morning to both of you. Charlotte, let's come to you first, because I know that you welcome this as a step forward, don't you? But, you know, I'm actually staggered that this situation's been allowed to go on for as long as it has, with some of these products being labelled in the way that they are. We all know that, you know, the nutrition that our babies, that our young children get is so vital. And it seems people might be being misled by the amount of salt and sugar there are in these products. Shouldn't there be firmer action taken right now to make these changes?
I think it's a really good question, and I think it's something that we definitely need to address, you know, come 18 months' time when we start to look at the results of these guidelines. However, some of these brands already started to make really positive changes. I think you're absolutely right. It's been allowed to go on for quite a long time. We now have some guidelines looking at much stricter salt, stricter sugar, and some regulations and advice around what can go on the front of the packet and how they can be marketed. It's a really positive step. And we have also seen from other voluntary programs that brands do make changes. So fingers crossed that most of them will start to take children's health really seriously after this big guideline.
I was just going to say,
out.
you know, should it be down to fingers crossed, the hope that actually the manufacturers are going to do this? They've got 18 months to make these changes, and then it will be looked at again to see enough of them have made the changes. But actually, shouldn't they be told to make the changes now?
Yeah, I think that obviously in food production and manufacturing, it is quite complicated, and changes, 18 months is actually quite a short time for them to be making a lot of those changes. But as I said, a lot of them have already started it. And I really feel like in 18 months, the ones that haven't will hopefully get you know, repercussions, and maybe then the government will look at making changes. I totally agree with you. I think it's really important. Child nutrition matters so much, and early child nutrition really does too. So I'm hoping that a lot of these brands will actually take this very seriously, and some of them have already shown they are doing that.
Dr Cheung, I have to say, I didn't understand. I was staggered that on the front of baby food you could have things like no nasties in it, that particular wording, when in fact it's full of sugar and salt. We've heard what Charlotte said there, that early childhood nutrition, especially babies, is essential. How is it possible that they have this stuff in it which is bad for nutrition and causes obesity, and yet there's no government guidance? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. So I think quite a lot of the wording for parents is so difficult to see. Like, I'm a paediatrician, I speak to parents about kind of nutrition all the time. I'm sure Charlotte does as well, and I'm a parent myself. And even for me, navigating some of the wording on that is incredibly difficult. Like, a lot of wording about no added sugars or natural sugars, or, like, you know, and I think you're right. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be that people are able to put things like this on the packaging and basically prey on our kind of ignorance.
Can you help me? Because I don't obviously understand it. You know, Charlotte's a mum, under 1 year old. How much of this stuff do you actually need? Sugar and salt and... what should the guidance be, and shouldn't it be legislation?
It should be much, much tougher than what we're seeing today. Look, I agree with Charlotte to some extent. It is a good first step for us to be thinking about this, to point this out to
But what should parents be doing? What should they think about in terms of diet?
Babies, certainly before the age of 1, don't need snacks of any kind, right? All they need is kind of milk and then some of the solids that they are kind of being introduced to in terms of their weaning. And certainly they shouldn't be having any sugar-free products at all.
But the interesting thing is, though, and you saying that is also what the government recommendation is. Children aged between 6 and 12 months do not need snacks between meals, only milk. And yet we have products labelled as snacks for babies from 7 months on shelves now, in direct contradiction to this. So it just seems like, you know, there isn't that kind of consistent messaging, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, there's some products that are marketed for even younger than that, sort of up to from 4 months onwards, which is, you know, slowly starting to kind of be phased out. So absolutely. And I think it's good that we should have to work with the food industry, because it's important that they come on board as well. But as Charlotte was saying, it shouldn't be about hopefully or fingers crossed. We should be much harder.
Charlotte, I think you wanted to come in, didn't you?
Yeah, I really strongly agree with what you're saying there. I think at the moment what we've been finding is that actually the food that's on the market does not align with our government advice. And that is why we're trying to take a really big stand right now, because we need to make sure that the food available for parents to buy for their children actually matches up with what we recommend for children that age. So that's no added salt, no added sugar, and no snacks for children under 12 months of age. It's really clear in the guidelines, and I really think these are some easy steps that some of the manufacturers can make.
And those steps, of course, are welcome. Dr Cheung, to what extent is your suspicion that there's no legislation around this, based on the bottom line of these food manufacturers, which is really about profit more than anything else?
I mean, you've kind of hit the nail on the head, I think. It is about profit, of course, and to some extent I kind of understand why they would, balk at and lobby against legislation, and that's kind of their job, but it's our job to say that actually the health of our children is something that we need to take really seriously, and we have to protect children from some of these, the unhealthy environment that we know causes things like obesity, causes things like poor dentition, which is, a bit of an epidemic in this country at the moment, and also long-term complications too, like high blood pressure, diabetes, that actually is not just about the childhood impact, but about a lifelong impact going forwards.
Mm. Okay.
So the guidance first, and then let's see whether there's legislation in due course.
Well, it's interesting. So the Department of Health and Social Care, they said, we expect the industry to meet the sugar, salt and labelling guidelines within 18 months. They will review the progress. If businesses fail to act, we will consider tougher measures. So, it sounds like that may well follow, mightn't it? Dr Ronny Cheung and Charlotte Stirling-Reid, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
This morning. Thank you. Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Parents wanting to make good decisions, and you look at a product, like you're saying, and it says contains no nasties, but actually there's a lot of sugar in it. It's hard, isn't it, to then make sure you're getting the right food for your child.
And common sense with parents as well, don't you think, in some instances?
Absolutely think it. You've just got to make sure that when children are little, you don't need to be feeding them lots of sweet things. You don't want to set them up with bad habits for life. Right. I was quite strict as a mother. I used to hide lots of things. And then I used to lead by example by not having a biscuit, because I thought I'm not going to offer her one, so I have to make sure I don't have a biscuit. Have a banana instead. There you are.
I was allowed anything I wanted. And